Hi, Dave Friedman, Hardwood Floor Finishing 101. In this video, we resand a 1960 style red oak floor and apply 3 coats of satin polyurethane. So stick around and we'll show you how we did it.
So I'll just quickly go over how we changed the paper on the Clarke drum sander, the EZ8 drum sander. I like to keep an old sheet on the drum when I'm transporting it because I don't want to get the drum damaged. When I buy these papers, they come in bundles of 5 each. So if you find they're really tight to pull out, you just squeeze them together between your legs like this, and then they slide out easy. Okay, so we're going to hit this floor with the 36 grit to start. So these Clarke EZ8 expandable drum sanders work by centrifugal force. When it spins, the drum expands. So you comb the paper. So if you look at the end of the drum here, it's slightly tapered. When this is spinning, these expand out and grip the paper. So that's the centrifugal force factor. So normally, these can usually go on fairly easily when the machine is cold, you're just starting your job. But if you find it is difficult to get on, you see, as you go to put the paper on, it's, it moves around because it's on the 3 wheels. So I like to just lock my foot here, and then you can hold it in place, and you kind of shake the paper and turn it. And when you get it on about halfway, you can start using the palm of your hand and push it, and turn it, it should go on. Sometimes they're really tight to get on. The one thing you don't want to do is pound the edge of your paper here and mushroom the paper and damage it, obviously, right? Now we're ready to rock. So one of the things we want to consider when we're looking at the layout of a room and how to start sanding is really the ideal location of where you want the drum marks to be, because this machine creates the drum marks when you stop, obviously. Now you can see where the previous guy sanded this floor. I don't know if you look in the light, you can see the drum marks here. If I'm going across this room, I want to start in one spot and have my stop line. As you go with the drum sander, here's my back here to the wall. Okay, you can see. So there's where I'm going to be stopping roughly, right? So that means right here, right across the floor to the other side, we're going to have a stop line, which is about 3 feet from the wall, the back wall. So we're going to have a stop line that runs the length of the room here. And because this is an L-shaped room, I'll put the one stop line here, and that way when it comes time for me to remove the stop lines after, I kind of know where they are. And you see them. I feather out as best I can to minimize the stop line itself. Having done this for several years, you kind of get into a rhythm when you're operating this machine. So, I'm able to feather it out, but there's still always that visibility. So I will kind of contain them to one area and one section. So then when I come back later with my palm sander, they're easier to locate, and I can kind of see them with light if I need to. And then I can palm sand them out. And then when I square buff it, that further removes them, right? So I always just try to make it as easy as I can for later. Because if you start staggering your drum starts and stops, you're going to put marks in areas you're going to forget where you started and stopped. If you're continually changing, your directions when you're roughing off, you're going to create more stop lines in areas where, you know, you forgot where you did it. So, because we have to go to the next grid after this, right? So you want to kind of maintain a consistency when you're sanding, so you're not creating multiple stop lines all over the place for further, you know, for down the road when you have to remove them. Gotta get some staircase live action going, bud. We finished drum sanding and edging this room. At the end of the planks, with the edging process, the machine leaves circular lines. Now Johnny did go through this room with the Makita and scrape the corners, but there's always a bit of residual marks from there. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over the ends of the planks here with 36 grit. And I use a 36 grit because it's coarser, and because of the way the orbital sander works, it's an orbital sander. So it's really just a gigantic palm sander, this OBS 18 here. And the process of going over these marks that are down here with this is to remove them. Oftentimes what will happen when you use the edger, we usually get rid of all with the palm sander, but this is going to cover a bigger area, so it'll spread out more into this area where the transition from the drum to the edgering was. So I just want to make it all a seamless transition. Basically the whole idea of having a properly sanded floor is that the entire surface of the floor has the same abrasive used on it prior to stain or urethane. So you get your best result, especially in staining oak floor. Now I've done hundreds of these over the years, so by putting the same abrasive on there to finish, because you have your drum sanders going like this, which is doing the main rough off of the floor, and then your edge ring is going like this around the perimeter. So you've got two separate and completely different abrasives and abrasive directions on your floor. So we then go to this machine, which is going to finish sand the floor and put the same abrasive, which is an orbiting sander. Think of it if you were going to refinish a fine furniture, a table or something. You wouldn't drum sand an edger on there and then put finish on, because you're going to see really erratic marks on your wood. You would use a palm sander. You probably go to 400 grit or whatever for an ultra fine finish. So I like to think of the floor in the same way, not to the same extent as a piece of furniture, but if you put the same abrasive technique on the floor as you would consider for furniture, your staining application is going to be more consistent. So I did the ends of the planks with the 36, now I switched it up to the 60 grit, and we're going to do the entire rim. So I'm going to continue to finish this off with the 60 orbital, then I'm going to vacuum and go over it with 80, and then we're done and we're ready for stain or urethane. In this particular case, we're just doing the urethane finish. I want to make a point about vacuuming and the importance of vacuuming your floor prior to staining or finishing. I'm doing a job here that's around 550 square feet total with 11 treads. It's going to take me, so far I've been, I'm not going to videotape vacuuming for 2.5 hours, but that's how long it's taking me. So I go slowly through the process. So I know it seems obvious, and it is, but if you are just doing this, if you're just doing this, you're renting the machines from the local tool supplier. If you're doing this, that's really probably the most critical part, other than sanding it properly, is having just a very clean, dust-free floor. So take the time to make sure that you spend enough time. You don't want any dust into your finish, or if you're going to be staining, any dust in the stain. this job, we're applying Fabulon Satin Urethane. I've applied links to everything I use in this video in the description below. Just take a minute to show how I apply the urethane. So I cut in around the edge in the paintbrush, like so. As I apply the urethane, I'm using a 10 mil lint-free roller. That's what you want to use when you're applying urethane on a floor. You'll notice these are the skinny planks, so we have a coverage of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planks. That's basically what our coverage is here. So what I do is I will cover. It's kind of tricky here with the one hand. And what I would do is I will cover the width of the applicator, which is 5 planks, like so. And then once I've done that, I usually go back half the width of the roller. So in this case, I can go back 2 or 3, that's fine. And the reason I do that is just in case there's any drips from the advance, that it's picked up. And that's why I always go back. So I'll apply the urethane like so, the width. In this case, it's going to cover 5 planks. And then after I complete that, before I advance again, I will go back, in this case 2 or 3 planks, and just get the overlap. If there are any drips, that's going to catch it, and then you advance. Applying urethane is quite a bit different from painting. It's not the same thing. When you're laying urethane, which is kind of what I call it, you really just want to apply it, and once you've covered it, you advance. You don't need to continually go over it and repeatedly go over it. In fact, with this oil-based urethane, if you go over it, and if you wait too long, you go over it, you'll actually raise it up, and you'll cause like bumps. And sometimes you cause them, and they're difficult to get out when you have to sand them out the following day. So it's best to just lay the urethane. The urethane will find its level, and you want to apply evenly and consistently, but you don't need to, once it's down, don't keep going over the same spot again. Just lay it and move on. Okay, so we're back the following day. We got one coat applied over the whole job. And now it's time to screen sand the floor. So we're going to take our 180 grit screen and we're going to screen sand the entire floor. Vacuum and then tack it, then apply the next coat. Okay, so I'm getting ready to screen sand this floor with the 180 grit square buff, the Clarke OBS 18. What you have to remember with this machine is you only have to make one pass over the floor and it's going to smooth everything out. So right now after the first coat, when you feel the floor, it has like a coarseness because the urethane raises the grain up. So when we pass over it once with this machine, it's going to take that coarseness off, all that abrasiveness, and it's going to smooth it out. Now, prior to putting the first coat of urethane on, I did use this machine with 80 grit paper and orbital sanded the entire thing. So it already has a pretty good finish, but that application of urethane has raised the grain, so it's necessary now to hit that with this. It's a 180 grit screen, and we're going to show you how we do that now. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel. So when you're lowering this down, you want to put your left foot, if you're going from this side, down a couple treads, just to anchor it and give you some more support. And then put your right foot up on the same tread as the machine is sitting on. And you just come in close, bring it back a bit, put your foot on the screen, lift it, and lower it down. When you're operating this machine, it's important to make sure that you pull up on the machine so the weight is being distributed from the center out. Let me demonstrate that to you. So the way the machine sits naturally as your handle is here, the tendency a lot of times is to just lean back like this. But if you look, when you lean back, you're putting all the weight of the machine on the back. So you're not distributing it evenly across, and it's not the most ideal way to abrade the floor here. So we want to lift up so we're square to the floor. This base is square to the floor and not leaning back on the back of the pad, because it's not an effective way to sand and abrade that way. Right? So we want to lift up so we're distributing the weight from the center out like this. As long as you operate the machine in that manner, you're gonna get the most efficient use out of the machine. So again, it's one pass over, and that's it. You're done. You don't have to continually go back and forth. We're not sanding the floor. We're abrading the floor. The first coat. Back after the third coat has been applied. The floor is nice and dry. Following day. 3 coats of satin urethane. Please hit like and subscribe to the channel. And happy sanding and refinishing.